Well, an intriguing workout for the 49ers. Private workout. UCLA quarterback Dorian Thompson-Robinson, also known as DTR. His initials are a little bit quicker to say. DTR worked out for the 49ers here in the past few days. And I mean, this is a quarterback that can move. This is a quarterback that has a sizzling highlight reel. And anytime we talk about the 49ers, A, meeting with a QB, and they met with DTR about a month ago, and then B, hosting him for a private workout. I actually don't think they hosted him at the facility. The private workout was elsewhere, but putting him through a private workout, well, that tells you a little bit of something. And when we read the tea leaves, we can go back to the owners' meetings a couple weeks ago. And we heard Kyle Shanahan talking as if the 49ers would pick up a fourth QB, although he said it'd be tough for that QB to make the 53-man roster. And then we look at this breadcrumb trail of visits and then the private workout with DTR, and the 49ers are definitely interested. So let's put on some tape and then let's talk about why the 49ers are interested here, because there's a lot of confusion about the quarterback position. A lot of people are saying, well, David, they've already got 3. Why would they want to add 4? Well, there's a reason why they want to add 4. Shanahan has talked about it. I think it's relatively obvious given the situation, but there's also a very defined, carved out role for somebody like DTR to potentially hit this 90-man roster. So anyway, let's take a look at the game tape. Starting with, are they playing USC there already? I think that's the USC game. First throw from DTR, though, is a strike over the middle. I love the end zone angle of this. Look at this ball leave the crowd. That's a creative arm angle from DTR. I have to rewind this. This is really, really pretty. I'm going to stop it right here. Do you see that ball flip out and leave that pocket despite the fact that the quarterback is about to get hit, despite the fact that one of the interior linemen here is getting backed into him? That's impressive. There's some torque behind a 3/4 of an angle release. We're going to watch it one more time from the end zone angle. This ball's not supposed to come out with this kind of zip. He's not supposed to see the receiver. DTR is not that tall. He's about 6'1", but he's able to whip that ball out of the pocket. So that immediately impresses me. His ability to deliver from the pocket under duress with a creative arm angle is impressive. Here, this one is a little bit behind the crossing receiver, but we'll allow it. Not a bad throw. Still a big gain. Still sets up some yards after the catch. It did cause a little bit of a slowdown there on the route. Deep throw in the Sun Bowl, El Paso, Texas. Nice. Nobody has accused Dorian Thompson-Robinson of not having a strong arm. He's got a good, strong arm. He lofted that one up there, and it is on the money. If there is a negative for DTR, it is what I'm about to put on the bottom of the screen. 36 interceptions over his 5 seasons at UCLA, including 10 last season. His INT rate increased over each of the past 3 years. But when you can do this, people at UCLA would forget about the interceptions. This is one of the most fun quarterback touchdown runs that you will see on tape. That was awesome. We're going to go back and watch that one again. Zigging and zagging his way downfield. Looks like they're playing the pitchfork, ASU, in the desert. Look at that throw outside the numbers. I mean, we talk about arm strength. You'll probably appreciate it more from this angle. Steps up a little bit in the pocket. Fires. Drops that in there. That's a difficult throw. You've got to get it high enough to get over a lot of defenders and obviously low enough touch to make sure the receiver can catch it inbounds. Going to see another quarterback run here, and whoop! There's the hurdle. Now, I don't know if DTR can do this in the NFL without getting hurt. He's not very big. About 6'1", weighing 205 pounds. So he's not, he's not the skinniest of dudes, but in the NFL, you can start getting wrecked once you start hurdling people. And then right here, even at the end of the run, he keeps on fighting. There's no sliding in his mind until there. But, geez, there was a lot of cuts and a lot of contact before them. Moving on to Eugene. A little bit of scrambling. Throw on the run. That is beautiful. Set up the yards after the catch on the run for the touchdown in the red zone. What do we want to see one more time? We want to see the long touchdown run? Yeah, let's watch the long touchdown run one more time. I was talking about the 36 interceptions. That was a problem, but now we can put this. DTR can move. Capital M, capital O, capital V, capital E. Look, down the sideline, cuts back, got a nice block there. And it seems like guys are misjudging his speed, underestimating his speed. He's a 4.5 6'40". He's been measured. He also has an arm, as you can see right here. I should put an arm in capitals, but the movement's better than the arm, but the arm is still good. It's that, the one thing that does concern me is the floor that you have with the interceptions. There were some struggles from the pocket from DTR as far as taking care of the football. But, I mean, let's go back to what he does well from the pocket. Let's go back to that very first clip and just admire how the hell he was able to get this pass off. With that lineman getting pushed into his face, he gets this pass off and he sets up yards after the catch on the crossing pattern. That's something that's a staple, bread and butter of Kyle Shanahan's offense. Anyway, DTR. 49ers have conducted the private workout with him. Consider what the 49ers need from a fourth quarterback before you start overreacting to stuff. People see something like this and they're like, oh, they're trading Trey Lance. No. The 49ers just 2 months ago, I've said this so many times, they ran out of quarterbacks in the NFC Championship game. This team needed 5 just to get through last season, and they didn't get through last season because they're all hurt by the end of it. This football team needs 4 this offseason. They've talked about it. They've said, okay, either through the draft or through undrafted free agency, just to run the practices the way they want to in the offseason, they're going to add a guy. In all likelihood, that's what's going to happen. Now, Kyle Shanahan has also acknowledged that it's going to be really hard to keep 4 in the building. But A, you've got to take care of yourself for offseason purposes. And then B, you want to give yourself a shot with whoever you do add to the roster, if it is a rookie, that it's not going to be a completely wasted acquisition. Just think back to last year. Brock Purdy, number 262. He ended up unseating Nate Sudfeld. The 49ers didn't hold on to Sudfeld at the 53-man cut down. They kept Purdy. Purdy was the 4th quarterback for all intents and purposes when he came aboard last year. But the 49ers gave themselves some option power with 4. They ended up taking 3. Purdy was one of them. They jettisoned Nate Sudfeld, and Brock Purdy ended up saving their season after Jimmy Garoppolo got hurt. So this year, you look at the situation, and Brock Purdy's elbow is still recovering. He's not even ready to go right now, won't be for a few months. It underscores the importance of adding that 4th quarterback. Now, one of the reasons that you would add DTR, even if he is a project, even if he has had some struggles with interceptions, is you look at the skill set and you say, oh my gosh, this might work on the scout team because this guy would push the envelope. Brock Purdy pushed the envelope last year on the scout team, but you have somebody with DTR who could run the read option, somebody who's not afraid to let the ball rip out of the pocket, even if it's collapsing on him, somebody who can heave it downfield, somebody who plays an aggressive branded football, which is actually what you would often want on the scout team. And that's where he would be if he played this year, right? He'd be lower on the pecking order, which would mean he would have to operate the scout team. So the 49ers are looking for an efficient 4th quarterback. And by that, I mean a 4th quarterback who can perform the role of a 4th quarterback efficiently. And part of that's going to be scout team duties. But, that entails being able to run the football. That entails being a versatile threat that can emulate other quarterbacks around the league. And that also entails having some potential, having a ceiling that Kyle Shanahan can develop into a quarterback that he likes. We've already seen that Shanahan's type of quarterback can be broad, right? Everybody thought, oh, he wants a Kirk Cousins. Not everybody, but people said that. And that's why a lot of people were led astray. They're like, oh, he must be looking for Mac Jones. Mac Jones is the closest to Kirk Cousins. He just wants the boring pocket-style passer. But then, no, Kyle Shanahan was willing to trade the farm for Trey Lance, who was much more unpolished. Yes, he has some pocket-style background and principles to his play, but Trey Lance moved in college. So I think that broke the stereotype in people's heads, unless people are being dense and saying that Kyle Shanahan was somehow forced into that pick, but that's just a conspiracy theory. In my opinion, that broke the stereotype for Kyle Shanahan and showed, hey, this guy can work with mobile quarterbacks. In fact, this guy recognizes the importance of mobility in the National Football League. And that's where somebody like DTR could fit into the picture, because he's not your typical just stand in the pocket and not do anything else kind of quarterback. You saw some of those crazy runs. And Shanahan can work with that, and I think on the earlier side of the spectrum, he could work with that in a scout team capacity. And, more than anything, he just wants to stock this room with 4 capable quarterbacks and see what happens. I talked to Frank Gore today. Frank Gore was at the 49ers local pro day. And the thing that Frank Gore told me, and this is the same thing I heard from Jed York, look out for Sam Darnold. Frank Gore was teammates with Sam Darnold in 2020. And he was glowing about him today. He thinks that he just needs some time with Kyle Shanahan to visualize the NFL in a way that he hasn't seen it yet before. And maybe we saw it over the final 6 games of the 2022 season when Darnold was actually really good for Carolina. But now he's going to be an opportunity with the 49ers to take that game to the next level. And somebody like DTR, well, he'd also be paired with Kyle Shanahan. And maybe that would help fix this, the 36 interceptions at UCLA over those 5 seasons. But the 49ers hosted a private workout with him because they really, really like the skill set and they need to bolster that quarterback room. You cannot underscore that enough. Do not have short-term memory loss. Remember what happened on January 29th. Injury catastrophe, one of the greatest injury catastrophes in the history of the National Football League. The 49ers would be fools to not better insulate themselves moving forward. And they insulated themselves really well last year, and it still happened, right? But, the only reason they made it to the NFC Championship game is because they are well insulated at quarterback. So it is no surprise that they're interested in somebody like DTR. No surprise they're interested in somebody like Jake Haener. You could watch my video coverage. I cut up a few videos from today's local pro day. Jake Haener was there. Tanner McKee was there. The 49ers are going to leave no stone unturned when it comes to scouting these quarterbacks who might go in the mid to later rounds. Dorian Thompson-Robinson is somebody who is expected to go in the mid to later rounds, maybe erring toward those later rounds just due to, some of that pocket interception issue. But it is intriguing stuff to me, and I hope that you liked the highlight tape. Let's open it up for 49ers Q&A. It is a beautiful Wednesday evening. I was out at the facility, as I have mentioned today. It was good to be back there. The footage from that, and there's actually there's an update video. I took one from the field at Levi Stadium after. It's all up on the channel. So why don't you like this video and subscribe? And why don't I wade into the comment section to see what people are talking about? First thing I see, how about 6 quarterbacks this year? Hey, you can't go wrong with too many at the most important position. All right, any questions? Let's put them in here. Andre Kelly, I have an article coming out about Andre Kelly tomorrow, so be sure to check that out. The basketball player hasn't played any football since high school. Didn't play D1 football, but a basketball player for Cal and a UCSB. That was intriguing to me. So, yes, Andre Kelly, article coming out tomorrow in The Athletic. Want the 49ers to draft a center? Maybe they do. Jake Brendel's, it's a relatively low commitment long-term extension for Jake Brendel. So I guess it's possible. But they believe in Brendel enough for this year. Maybe start looking at the future. I think they think Nick Zakelj could be a center. I think that they're also working on developing Keith Ishmael. With Keith Ishmael, the fascinating thing there is that they were able to acquire him after Washington let him go, or they poached him off the practice squad. It was one or the other. He was unprotected by Washington. Washington drafted Ishmael with a 5th-round draft pick that originally belonged to the 49ers. 49ers sent that 5 to Washington for Trent Williams. That was part of the Trent Williams trade. And then Washington drafted Keith Ishmael, who's now on the 49ers, as a potential center of the future. So it's one of those things where everything seems to have worked out for the 49ers in that whole Trent Williams brouhaha with Washington, right? He didn't want to be with Washington anymore. They eventually traded him. The 49ers got the best lineman in football for a really good price. And then with one of the draft picks they sent their way, they have that player back anyway in Keith Ishmael. So he's a candidate for the center position of the future. But it's Jake Brendel's job right now. Right tackle's looking like Colton McKivitz. Jalen Moore behind him. We'll see what the 49ers do in this upcoming NFL draft. Why not trade Ayuk while his value is the highest? Well, because then you'd be giving up a good football player. Just because somebody's value is high, you know who else's value is high? Nick Bosa's value is high. You want to get rid of him? You could say that about a lot of 49ers players. These guys have high value because they're good football players. Well, why not trade him? Well, yeah, because you don't want to make your team worse. The 49ers would be worse after trading Brandon Ayuk than they were before trading Brandon Ayuk if they were to do that. Right? I mean, it's just to me, it's simple math. You don't want to get worse. You're trying to win a championship here, and they're going to need to determine if Brandon Ayuk is an A-lister for them. He's trending in that direction. If Brandon Ayuk is indeed an A-lister, the 49ers will pay him. If they think, you know what, his production is replaceable with a draft pick here or some kind of other cheaper acquisition there, then they will trade him. Then they won't hold on to him, or they'll let him walk for a comp pick. But they're going to pick up the fifth-year option. That's going to be affordable for somebody like Brandon Ayuk, and they're going to use this next season to really determine where he stands in the pecking order. If he's an A-lister, I've talked about the 49ers strategy. The A-list core grows every year. This year, they're going to extend Nick Bosa. They can extend Brandon Ayuk next year. The salary cap grows. So does the A-list core. You don't let go of assets just because they're valuable. You let them produce for you on the football field because they're valuable. So I hope that answers your question. John Peterson, thank you. If the 49ers draft a quarterback, don't they risk losing him when they send him to the practice squad? Yes, you do. But you make a calculation. Will another team pick him up? Because that other team has to add him to the 53-man roster, right? If somebody poaches the quarterback, they're going to need to put him on their roster. They also have limited room. So with some of these practice squad guys, you roll the dice. With Brock Purdy last year, the 49ers didn't roll the dice. They figured somebody else would pick him up, so they kept Purdy on their 53. Ended up being a really smart decision. Mike Crocker says, Ayuk is the best wide receiver 2 in the league. Well, you know, it's an interesting take because the 49ers have an unusual wide receiver room. Deebo Samuel's not a pure man-beating wideout. Deebo Samuel's an awesome player. Deebo Samuel's a superstar, but we know Deebo's unique. He's one of one, right? The way that he runs through tackles, the yards after catch per reception. Brandon Ayuk is actually more of a standard number one wideout than Deebo Samuel is. So that's why the 49ers need both of them, because it's, you know, a yin and a yang kind of situation. They complement each other very well. On top of that, the 49ers have George Kittle. They have Christian McCaffrey. By the way, those of you just joining, George Kittle's dad, Bruce Kittle, joined for a show this morning. It is all on the channel, so like the video and subscribe. I cannot guarantee you that the 49ers will not draft a running back in the third round. Although if they do, it's going to be a super late third round pick because they're not till number 99. Unless Kyle Shanahan trades up for running back, in which case all bets are off. Do I think the longer that Yannick Ngakoue is out there, the 49ers take a one-year deal on him? So you think the chance is raising? Yeah, I guess. Longer he's out there, potentially a cheap deal can come, right? But let's just see how the draft goes first. Let's see who the 49ers draft, where they stock up, which players they like coming out of the draft, and then let's see what free agency looks like after that. They, at this point, they don't have a lot of cap space. They're trying to stay cap sustainable. So the deals the 49ers are bringing in are deals that are not going to hurt their overarching cap situation. And somebody like Yannick Ngakoue can probably be asking for a slightly bigger chunk of money that could derail the 49ers a little bit in that bigger picture. I do not get Baker Mayfield vibes from Jake Haener. Haener seemed confident, but he also seemed really humble to me. With Baker Mayfield, I didn't think that he was very humble coming out of college. Let's put it that way. Thank you. Appreciate it. Cap situation in future years. Well, the 49ers have a lot of liabilities and only 34 players under contract for next season, 2024. The thing is that cap is going to continue rising. We talked about YouTube TV and the NFL Sunday ticket deal and people saying it's too expensive. Well, a lot of people are going to pay for that. And the NFL is going to make a lot of money because they sold the YouTube paid for those rights, right? To broadcast the NFL or to have Sunday ticket. So this is just to illustrate there's a ton of money in NFL viewership. NFL revenues are going up every year with these new media deals, and the salary cap is tied to league revenues. So the 49ers plan is dependent on the salary cap rising season by season, year by year, so the 49ers can pay more and more of their A-list core. And then at some point, you're going to hit a point where the A-list core starts retiring, right? Trent Williams is a good example. He's 35 years old now, but that clears up some space and allows you to sign the next wave of draft picks. And you're just trying to stay ahead of the crest of the wave that is the salary cap. But if the salary cap is rising every year, it's feasible to do that. You just have to be really, really careful at the margins, right? You can't pay guys like Charles Amenahu too much. He's not an A-lister. He's a good player, but you start paying guys like that too much money, start paying those guys $8-9 million a year, all of a sudden you're going to hit that cap hell. You're going to hit the point where you can't restructure your way out of things, where you can only cut players to get under the salary cap. That's where the 49ers don't want to be. So they're still looking okay for the future, but they have to keep on treading forward carefully. What's going on with Gold and Mason Crosby? Well, they remain unsigned. That's what. I think it's a game of chicken right now. It's a strong class for kickers, the draft class. At least one of them, Jake Moody's really good. But teams, especially playoff contenders, they're uncomfortable risking everything with a rookie kicker. Robert Aguayo the other year, he was drafted up high, second round. He didn't work out. So I think Robbie Gold's saying, hey, I'm worth a lot here, especially to a team like the 49ers. They don't want to go through kicking uncertainty. Even Zane Gonzalez is not a surefire prospect. That's why John Lynch said it was a move, not the move. But this game of chicken, at some point, it's going to have to resolve itself. And I think that you talk about deadline pressure, the coming NFL draft can give a dose of needed deadline pressure to situations like this. So maybe stuff is going to start moving as this moves forward. J49, draft the best player available. Absolutely. You can't be thinking specifically when you don't pick until number 99. Would Jim Harbaugh consider coaching again? You mean with the 49ers? Well, right now it's Kyle Shanahan's team, so I don't know. But it was cool to see Jim back there this year at Levi Stadium before the Chiefs game. Told Patrick Willis it's only a matter of time before he's in the Hall of Fame. Okay. DTR won't be where? In the third round? I'm seeing mid to late round projections on DTR. I don't think the 49ers were interested in trading for Jeff Okudah, no. He's been a disappointing player for Detroit. I get it. He didn't have the pass rush the 49ers have. But I think the 49ers are really happy with Deommodore Lenoir. I think they're obviously happy with Charvarius Ward. They have Isaiah Oliver now at that nickel spot. We'll see what Ambry Thomas can bring them. But it's going to be about drafting somebody this year to help refortify that depth. More questions. I'm ready for more. I'm going to pop open the depth chart here while I'm waiting for more. Show is growing. I know that the audiences are not nearly as big during this dead period of the offseason, but that will not stop the content from flowing. Here's what the 49ers depth chart is looking at like as we speak. I got the Giants-Dodgers game on. It's probably keeping our audience a little bit smaller. 3-3, bottom of the fifth inning. That's me taking a peek over at the TV. Kershaw just walked Lamont Wade. Anyway, 49ers are at 65 players. They have 25 more spots to fill. If we're looking at what they are probably going to want to bolster, well, I think quarterback has 3. Running back, I think, is overflowing. I mean, you could add an undrafted free agent. That's what I think they do there to add competition, because you're going to want to have 6 in that room, maybe 7 for the offseason. But QB for sure, you're going to want to have 4. Receiver, they're loaded. They may not even add anybody at receiver, maybe 1. Tight end, you definitely have to use some capital. It's a strong tight end draft class. You want to load that position up. O-line, I think you got to draft somebody who you think could be a future prospect at tackle if you're the 49ers. Now, you might like Leroy Watson a lot, the former tight end, teammates with Spencer Burford in college, but you still, I think, have to be constantly accumulating darts to be able to throw those darts at the wall in the future. I think you add another edge rusher. I think you probably try to do that through the draft. We'll see if the 49ers do indeed follow through with that. But maybe a veteran is waiting there as the months pass here in the offseason, and you are able to pick somebody up in cap compliant fashion to give this team one more you know, signing turbocharge as it embarks on a quest to try to win that Super Bowl. Linebacker, loaded position for the 49ers. Corner, you could use some more depth. You could use a safety of the future as well. So that's what the 49ers look like right now. Who do I like better for the 49ers? DTR or Jake Haener? I like Jake Haener better. I thought Jake Haener some awesome anticipatory throws. I think, the one thing with DTR, again, the 36 interceptions over the 5 years, that's something that would make Kyle Shanahan pull his hair out if it's something he can't fix with the 49ers. Haener also, Shanahan loves tough quarterbacks, and Haener, I mean, there's just been toughness out the wazoo there with Jake Haener. I mean, remember Kyle Shanahan picked CJ Beathard in 2017 and said he was tough as shit. Well, Jake Haener has, some claim to that description as well. I do think the 49ers make the NFC Championship again. I think they win it this year. I think if the quarterback position stays decently healthy, they've got the best roster, because you think about it, the Eagles have lost a lot. And most importantly, they lost Javon Hargrave, very important player. Not only did they lose him, he's with the 49ers now. And the 49ers, their biggest weakness last year might have been an interior defensive line. And now they have Javon Hargrave. So we will see. Jake Haener looked snappy, like snappy as in snappy throws. Who do you think will land him? I have no idea. It's hard to predict that. But Haener told us that he thinks it's going to be somewhere between the 3rd and the 5th round. Yeah, and that 97 S2 cognition score, 97th percentile for Jake Haener, that he reported that today. That's really impressive. I came on the news today in Fresno, back by Fresno, my home area, ABC 30 Action News. Maybe you could watch the replay at 11 and talk Jake Haener, and that 97th percentile cognition score, definitely impressive. Mike Crocker wants the 49ers to use Poe in the run game, maybe like a fullback. Maybe it's coming this year. Poe was on the practice squad all of last season, but maybe he's developed to the point where the 49ers will entrust him to that. Because we've thought that ever since they picked him, that this could be somebody that Kyle Shanahan has fun with. So we'll keep an eye out on that. I have no idea who Seattle drafts round 1. Maybe a QB. Geno Smith fell off last year. Geno Smith's end of the season was nowhere as good as the start of the season. So the reason he didn't crack the $30 million barrier, and there's a reason why a lot of that stuff is pushed up front so they can get out of this contract after a year. Because if Geno Smith plays the way that he did down the stretch, the Seahawks aren't going to be good. It was Geno Smith who really fueled that early season run for Seattle with how well he was playing. But then things slowed down for Geno Smith moving on. You want Caillou Blue Kelly for the 49ers? He was at the pro day today, the local pro day. Sean wants 49ers Pittsburgh Super Bowl. That would be epic. A couple of those traditional power franchises. Team of the 70s against the team of the 80s, right? The Steelers against the 49ers. The sandwich that I posted today looked good. Yes. That was Fambrini's. Why don't we pop that one open on the screen, all right? Show you the sandwich that I ate a little bit earlier. It's a YouTube short. We've been posting more shorts lately. I don't know if you could hear the sound, but I'm about to put this sucker up. Here we go. Now, just wait and see when I get on the zoom of this sandwich. This is the chimichurri surf and turf. So you've got the tri-tip and the shrimp, and then, of course, I had avocado. But they have this amazing sauce at Fambrini's that you absolutely cannot miss. I mean, you'll be craving it for a long time after you go there. It's one of my favorite spots, Fambrini's Cafe in Palo Alto. Good stuff. All right. I think that we covered everything. I'm looking for more questions, but there aren't too many of them. Check out the article tomorrow morning on Andre Kelly. Check out all the content that I posted today from Pro Day, including an update from the stadium. I edited it myself today, a couple cuts here and there, but you've got good behind-the-scenes access. I don't think there's much of any of this footage of Hainer and all that online outside of this channel. So be sure to subscribe. Be sure to check out all that stuff. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Half an hour seems about right today. Going to go watch the Giants and relax on this Wednesday evening because I have to take off to Austin tomorrow. Midday tomorrow, I'm flying to Austin. Another bachelor party. I've already had mine. It just seems like everybody's getting married now, but I will be at a bachelor party in Austin this week. But don't worry, videos are going to keep on coming. So like and sub. We'll talk to you very soon. Everybody take care.